Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
Check out the all-new Blue and Orange store at the Boise State Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange store has your best game day gear. We're talking jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall. If you want the best Boise State gear, make sure you check out the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com or the all-new Blue and Orange store down at the Boise State Allen Noble Hall of Fame.
Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Refreshing and goes down smooth. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
How's your day going?
Going good, thank you. Yeah.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
You could win one of 2 trips to see Banana Ball live. Purchase 2 Body Armor products, use Let's Go rewards, and you're entered to win. Right now, Body Armor is buy one, get one for $1 with Let's Go rewards. Start getting those entries in. Let's go.
Around here, toughness isn't talked about. It's lived.
Matt Wagner with the one-handed catch down.
Early mornings, late nights.
Going forward with Ford.
Work that doesn't make the highlight reel.
Same mindset, different uniform.
This is the blue-collar grit, earned, not given.
Tough days don't stop us. They build us.
McMillan shoots and scores.
For the workers who don't back down, Ford doesn't either.
Shannon fires.
Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live is the only daily show that talks nothing but Boise State sports. And we do it with you. Give us your comments or questions in the ICCU YouTube chat. Or leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox at speakpipe.com/BNN. BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, and our major sponsors, Taco Bell, Idaho Central Credit Union, RoadPaint.com, and the Blue and Orange Store. At Lithia Ford of Boise, we're proud to stand with Boise State athletics. Through our NIL marketing partnerships, we're investing in the future of student athletes. Lithia Ford of Boise, here to get you there, wherever that may be. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Broadcasting from the Sun Cruiser Studios, here's BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? Good morning. Happy Friday. Bronco Nation News live here at bronconationnews.com. We're presented, as always, by Lithia Ford of Boise. Never a better time for a new or pre-owned vehicle. Lithia Ford of Boise. They're in the Lithia Ford of Boise studios, KTIK. Friday morning. Prater's ready for the weekend, and he always remembers he's got to wake up early and come in and figure out how to log in and deal with me for 45, 50 minutes on a Friday. But Mike finally got to some nicer weather, and it's going to be a good weekend if you can make it through the next 7 or 8 hours here. How we doing?
Not too bad. Always a pleasure to meet you on Friday morning. So it's always a good way to end the week and get into the weekend, and lots of crazy cool stuff that's happened this week, and lots of crazy cool stuff that's happening tomorrow. So or this entire weekend. So it's a good time to be in the sports business. So I would imagine we're going to talk a little Boise State football and basketball today.
Speaking of golf, did you see the recent Tiger Woods? I'm sure you saw the dash cam footage, but the new one that TMZ that had to come out where he was talking about his Scotty Cameron putter and how he won 14 majors with it.
Yeah, no, that's not a good look. Tiger was that was a bad look yesterday. Of all of his DUIs and of all of his troubles. The optics of that one were not very good at all. So let's hope that Tiger gets his act together. No Tiger at the Masters this year. No Phil for the first time in 33 years. At least one of those two have never played in the Masters, so it's the beginning of a new era, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It is. And by the way, I should go ahead and throw I had a meeting with our folks at Sun Cruiser. They are sending me a really nice Sun Cruiser, one of those hard, really nice golf bags. And we're going to be doing a contest, Prater, that hopefully we can get you in maybe for the U.S. Open in June. And maybe we can, who knows, maybe we can even team up with KTIK. But we're going to do some sort of – are you doing your Masters pool again, by the way?
Yeah, always.
Send me the list because I got a couple people that actually asked me. So if you're allowing, some of my friends to get in to sweeten the pot, I can get that done. But we're gonna maybe you're the one I need to talk to. Figure out some sort of pick-em contest for the U.S. Open, and we'll have some great prizes, and a Sun Cruiser golf bag will be one of the main prizes. So
I love that. Yeah, no, I've run a fantasy majors league for about 20 years, and all 4 majors, and we get about 20, 30 people involved and spend some cash and have some fun, keep some season-long standings. So, yeah, I'll reach out, and it's more the merrier type of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, stay tuned for that later this summer. U.S. Open contest. We'll be giving away a Sun Cruiser golf bag, some other cool stuff. We got folks watching from Minnesota, Melbourne, Florida, and everywhere in between. We appreciate everybody for watching and joining us today. Surf City Bill starts us off. The elite Mike Prater joins us here on a Friday morning. Mike, a lot going on, football, basketball. It's crazy. I never in this, in my, I know I'm we talk a lot of basketball on this show, but never in my 4 years of hosting these shows have I been outside a spring football practice where 98% of the comments were going basketball. And that's what happened the other day after the Drew Fielder news. And then you had the Andrew Meadow news, and I guess also not a whole lot's happening in spring football. They're practicing, but there hasn't been a lot of news, and we'll certainly talk spring football. I thought Maddox Madsen had some great stuff to say. We talked to some guys yesterday, and we'll certainly talk spring football, but I don't know. Maybe it's just on this show, but it does seem like with the Andrew Meadow and the Fielder and some of the actual news coming from the basketball side, that's been more of getting some more of folks' attention this week than maybe shorts and T-shirts out there throwing the football around.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, angst always sells in this business, unfortunately. And right now, Boise State basketball is kind of going through that ringer. And it's kind of painful to see what's going on with this team. I said yesterday on the show, and, when I say comments like this, I don't take them lightly. But I said, having covered this basketball program since 1993, I'm not sure it's ever reached the low point that it has here. This basketball program has always been pretty steady. And I'm not saying the sky is falling when I say that. Everything that is in front of Boise State right now is fixable. To what degree? We're about to find out over the next few months and see how they can do it. But it's just, we talked about, if you're looking for the positive, happy one, look at what New Mexico did. I think at one point last year, they had 0 players on the roster. And last night they're in the NIT semifinals. So it can be done. But this basketball team is down to just a couple of core players, and I'm not sure how much those players want to be in Boise. I'm not sure how much Boise State wants those players. There's a lot of relationships through convenience going on right now because everybody needs somebody to keep warm at night, and Boise State basketball is kind of going through that, and it's really difficult to see because it's a really cool time for Leon Rice, and it's Final Four weekend, and he's supposed to be at the Indy for conventions and, hanging out with Mark Few, getting in the Hall of Fame, and hanging out with Tommy Loy, going to a Final Four. So I don't know if you've talked to Leon. I've tried to reach out to him a couple times this week, and he always gets back to me, but nothing. And I'm assuming behind the scenes he's grinding like crazy to get this roster taken care of, to get as much advanced work as he can before the transfer portal opens up next week. And he's probably not going to enjoy this weekend, and that's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they have a lot of work to fill. And the Drew Fielder one, I think that was kind of a gut punch to a lot of people, Mike. That was one that, we kept saying build the team around Drew Fielder, but my understanding is he could have made $900,000 at USC and he took 300 and something thousand. And we always preface it on the show by it's not cash, it's a package, it's all kinds of things, but you have to have some baseline to go off of. So something worth $900,000 he turned down for something worth $350,000, $400,000 already to come to Boise State. And my understanding was he's got well over $2 million offers out there. And so, people want to be mad at, Leon's lost the locker room, whatever. And this is just proven that he doesn't want to, they should have got rid of him and they could have kept all the players. Like, I think with Drew Fielder, and I know some people don't want to believe it, but Andrew Meadow as well. Like, Andrew Meadow is not making this decision to go play at UC Santa Barbara or UC whatever. Like, when you see where Andrew Meadow lands, will have gotten more money than A, Boise State probably could have paid him, but honestly, B, more than Boise State probably wanted to pay him given what their budget and roster concerns are. And I'm not taking any of the blame away from Leon Rice. Like, yeah, if they were winning, if they went to the tournament, if they won a game, maybe guys would have wanted to stay and take less. Like, everyone is a part of it. I think I heard you yesterday, say all three parts are to blame for kind of how we got to this point. But I do think in Drew Fielder and in Andrew Meadow's case, when it's all said and done, they are going to get bigger paychecks and bigger opportunities, bigger schools, I guess I should say. And sometimes there's, in this system, the way it's set up, there's just not a lot of, if Boise State has $3.5 million to spend, they're not going to spend 1.5 on Andrew Meadow. They're not going to spend 2 more on Drew Fielder. And it stinks. And yeah, if they went to the tournament and won a game and it was a different, didn't have some of the issues in the locker room, whatever, maybe these guys would have stayed. But sometimes I think it's also okay to say that a large part of this is the system. And you know what? Good luck to those guys. Go make their money, and Boise State will try to find a way to replace them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's definitely part of the system. And it's absolutely part of the system, and everybody goes through this, and even the top dogs, the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, we'll find some Final Four teams this weekend that have to go through some of this, and yeah, their problems are a little bit easier because they got a lot more cash, and Boise State's doing everything it possibly can to grow its rev share pool and give Leon Rice as much money. I would imagine at this point, from here on out, every single year, Leon Rice is going to get at least $500,000 to $1 million raise when it comes to his rev share. That's just the growing market right now. And elite basketball teams are being paid $10 million. Elite football teams, the budget now is about $40 million. And Boise State's, in both cases, 10 to 25% of that. But they're growing and they're building and they're trying to keep up. And, at the group of 5 level, I think they're doing fine. So, this basketball program, certainly there's been a lot of issues over the last couple of months. But it's kind of a cultural thing that goes back to, frankly, 30 years of watching this program trying to go from good to great to elite. And this program is always going to be above the good bar. There's going to be plenty of seasons where it's going to be a great program. We have yet to see the elite, and they're chugging their way to get there. And it's unfortunate that they had to have this big step back. But right now, I said it yesterday on the show, this program has hit rock bottom. And they need to figure it out fast. And I'm sure that's exactly what Leon Rice and company are doing behind the scenes right now.
A couple of thoughts on that, but I want to stick on Meadow for a second. I talked to Meadow yesterday. I don't think anybody else talked to him. I think I was the only – I'm not sure if you did or whatever, but I think I was the only one at BNN that had a story with quotes from Andrew Meadow. And had we talked about the camera crew on this show?
No, we talked about it with Leon a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, I don't remember who it was that I talked to, but maybe it was Jay or somebody or Johnny, but I know – the last couple of weeks, the camera crew has become a little bigger deal. And is he more about the camera crew and not the team? And people are getting kind of frustrated by that on his own. So he must have heard this noise somehow, because on his own, Andrew Meadow wanted to ask me if he could clarify the camera crew situation. So I don't know who told him about this or where it came from, but he did say that it was a friend from back home. He's been filming me since my junior year of high school. He's filmed me every year I've been here. It's nothing new. just for my YouTube channel. I've had many docs on YouTube covering my season since high school. He said, it's nothing crazy like it seems. Just cool to have my whole basketball career on video to show my kids one day. So I don't know if he was trying to do damage control on the way out. I have no idea. I don't know who told him that was becoming a big deal. I don't know how many fans are even familiar that he had a YouTube channel, but he said he just felt it was the best decision for me to chase my dream of playing professional basketball. AKA I got offered double the money somewhere else. But Andrew Meadow as a player, I know you guys on your show the other day talked about, do you go all in, make him the star player, whatever. But where were you on Andrew Meadow as a player? I know defense wasn't necessarily his main thing, but every year he's gotten better in terms of his three-point shooting. He got better going to the rack this year. He was a guy out of those three we talked about. The one of the guys I would have liked to have kept. But again, there's a budget. There's other, you can't just say, there's different things involved. Where were you on Meadow as a player, and how much you wanted him back this year?
Well, I mean, I'd love to have him back right now. I guarantee you that. And I'd love to have him back even if he had one leg. And Andrew Meadow, we did a show right here on Idaho Sports Talk probably about a third of the way into the basketball season. Who's the best player on this basketball roster? And I think the consensus of our group at that point was Andrew Meadow. But Andrew Meadow never really came through. Andrew Meadow never really grew. Andrew Meadow's a good basketball player, and he's a fun personality to watch, and it's been really cool to see him at Boise State, but he's not a difference maker. He's not the kind of player that I want to build my roster around. He disappeared for a lot of portions of this season. He's got defensive liabilities. He's got inconsistency issues. So would I like him on this roster? Is he worth, is he worth $500,000, $250,000? Sure. I'd love to give him that. And if somebody else wants to give him that kind of money, go for it, dude. You're not going to go to the NBA. So when he says further his NBA career, what is he trying to go from Slovenia to France? I don't know. He's two things happen. When kids say that, cut the BS and cut the crap. Two things happen. One, he's not really happy to be here. And two, somebody gave him a better offer. It's no different than relationships with girls. I got this side hustle on the side, but I don't really like her. But it's the best thing that I have. And so we all play that game, and nobody's blaming Andrew Meadow for going out and chasing cash. Maybe some hardcore crazy fans are, but in this particular case, I had no problem with him leaving. We heard that he was going to leave 2 weeks ago. So I don't think yesterday was a big surprise. I like the way you put Drew Fielder. That was the emotional gut punch. Andrew Meadow was not an emotional gut punch because this basketball team doesn't even really exist roster-wise right now. I'd love to have him back, but he's not a difference maker, nor would I bend my knee just to make him the cornerstone of my program, especially if that meant I had to pay him more money than he deserves.
Now, I do Skyship asking about NATO. I will say that my sources tell me that I don't know if the ink's you never know in this business, but because the portal's not even officially open, and I don't know if the ink's dry yet, but my understanding, Mike, is that AG NATO, yes, will be back, and I feel very confident in saying Pearson Carmichael will be back as well. So I know you said maybe it's circumstances, whatever else, but I think Pearson Carmichael is going to be on next year's team. But one of the ones people keep asking about is, and by the way, on Carmichael, I'm okay buying low. I think he's a better shooter than he showed last year, and if long, I don't know what the numbers are, but if you can buy low on a guy like that, and he has a big improvement, and who knows, another offseason, we'll see. I think there's some talk of moving him to the 3 position. We'll see. I saw some things for him, but overall too inconsistent, and his shooting percentage, he would even tell you was not where it needed to be. But I mean, this was a guy in high school that was scoring 50 points a game at times. If he can get back to that, if he can become a scorer and shoot better than 30% from 3-point range, maybe you got something there. But if he has another season that he had this year, next year, then that's not good.
And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. I don't think all of a sudden Pearson Carmichael is going to explode into this great basketball player, a difference maker. He's got too many liabilities as well. Yeah, great shooter, but if he improves from 45% to 49%, is that really what this team is that going to fix this program? No, it's not. Leon Rice wants dogs, and Pearson Carmichael he doesn't have the dog mentality to me. He doesn't have the grit and the grind and the kind of player that Leon Rice says he wants. So again, there are times where I don't think Boise State wanted Pearson Carmichael, and there are times when Pearson Carmichael didn't want Boise State. This is going to be a convenient relationship. We're going to try to do the best we can do to get along. But Pearson Carmichael is not a difference maker on this basketball team. And if you're building your entire roster around Pearson Carmichael, holy crap, I'm really worried about the future of this basketball
and
team.
I don't think anybody's doing that or has said they're doing that.
Well, but that's what's going on right now. I mean, that's exactly, they're going to build this entire roster around Pearson Carmichael. That doesn't mean you can't go out and get like the next Drew Fielder, but and maybe that guy becomes the cornerstone of the roster. But what you have right now is Pearson Carmichael is the anchor of this roster, and that scares the living crap out of me.
Yeah. I mean, right in terms of returning players, sure, but I think they can go get 3 or 4 players better than him.
Yeah, we said that last year. Look how that turned out. Yeah. It can work. It can work. And that's the only thing that Leon Rice can do is roll up the sleeves and go back to work. And I trust Leon Rice to put something together. I don't trust it to be an automatic success. We'll see how it plays out.
Now, couple different things. One, I guess I will say I have heard that they appoint. Are you more of a? I think you've said in the past you don't care where the guy played from. You don't care if he played NAIA. You don't care if he's Division II. You don't care if he's a Duke transfer. Can he play? Put on the film, whatever. Is that still the case?
100%.
Okay. I just don't know in terms of the something to sell in terms of fans in off season if bringing in somebody from a named school is a little sexier than bringing in somebody from a North Dakota State or something. But I have heard there's a point guard they really like that would fit your dog, Leon Rice's dog mentality, that put up some big time numbers, but maybe from a Summit League or a smaller program. And I didn't know if that's something that, matters or not. Can the guy play, right?
Well, yeah, that helps solidify Leon Rice's problem when they open up a basketball season next November. That doesn't help Jeremiah Dickey today, and those are two completely different conversations. A good dog player from the Summit League is not going to sell tickets at all. Dylan Andrews, a starting point guard from UCLA who came in here highly, highly celebrated. I'm not sure we were able to even sell and market him, especially as the way the season played out. So, we're not going to fall for those tricks around here anymore. At least I'm not.
Yeah, and maybe that's kind of showing hey, they went for the high-priced, shiny UCLA point guard transfer. It didn't exactly work, and my understanding is they're going the other direction for the new point guard for next year's team. And so check that North Dakota State roster. There may be some news there in the near future. We'll see what that means. Again, they've got like 6 spots to fill, Mike. 6, 7, 8 spots here they've got to fill. And I felt like editor Mike Prater when I did this the other day. I was talking to Nathan Carroll at a football practice, and I said, you know what, like, it feels like everyone's kind of, freaking out about having 3 guys on the roster right now and having to add all these transfers and no faith in Leon. And I said, it feels to me off the top of my head like they've had a pretty good success rate in the transfer portal. I feel like a lot of the transfers they've got have worked. I asked Nathan, I said, why don't you go back and look at every transfer of the Leon Rice era and let's analyze how he's done in the portal, and does he deserve the benefit of the doubt or not, when it comes to putting this roster together. And I've been waiting to post the story. He finished it yesterday. I might post it Monday since the portal opens on Tuesday. 23 transfers, Mike Prater. We're talking 4-year schools. I'm not counting JUCO transfers, but 4-year NAIA and above in the Leon Rice era. They've added 23 transfers. And according to our kind of grading system here, 5 home runs, 12 hits, 5 misses, and 1 that we called mixed results. So basically of 23 transfers, 17 were net positives. That's a 74% range here. And I mean, we can go through the whole list, but adding, 6 is a little different than adding 1 or 2 a year. I totally understand that. But based on the track record, if he has to add 5, 6 transfers, 3 or 4 or 5 are statistically over the last 16 years are going to hit.
Yeah, and where'd those transfers, where'd all that success go? I mean, this basketball program isn't any better for that, so you can kind of sit and manipulate the stats all you want. Do you consider Drew Fielder a success? What is he, a home run? What about Dylan Andrews? Where do you grade him? For 5 months, they were good basketball players on this program. Pretty good basketball players. I would consider on the court guys like Drew Fielder and Dylan Andrews to be, a pretty safe double. I thought that they were fine. Maybe Fielder is a triple. But if you can't keep Fielder, that needs to work against you if you can't retain him. Retention is the most important thing. Roster retention is the most important thing. So if you're going to take Drew Fielder and make him a plus, are you going to knock him down because he left? To me, Dylan Andrews is probably the better. Drew Fielder was the better player this year, and Boise State got more ROI out of Drew Fielder. But if you can't retain him, I think maybe the Dylan Andrews case was a better situation. One of the biggest factors is ROI, and you take those 24 transfers And you go out and talk to the money people in this program who felt like that they had to give money for this to happen. What was the ROI? I think at the end of the day, a businessman would say neutral at best. So I'm not going to buy those kinds of stats.
And I know a businessman that I know said that the Dylan Anderson experience a couple years ago was the worst investment he's ever made in his career. So, they've certainly had it. I think Dylan Andrews was actually the mixed result that we came up with was Dylan Andrews, because at times, but yeah, when you're talking about the $800,000 that you have to factor that into a lot of what you're getting out of him. So we'll see. They got a roster to fill. You still believe something could happen on the coaching staff? I heard you saying on the radio.
Well, yeah, we talked about the changes in the staff, and the staff is more than just Leon Rice and a couple of assistant coaches right now. It's, there's 2 rows of dudes back there now. There's 10 deep, and I suspect that there's going to be some, and that's going to be natural. I don't know what they are. No, nobody's told me anything. I know I want I always hesitate to fire somebody, and I'm not trying to fire somebody, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings if there was a change with the offensive coordinator. And if you're looking for somebody to sell, and I have no idea if Kobe Carl's even qualified, I have no idea if he's even interested. I have no idea what his plans are. But if you hired Kobe Carl and made him the offensive coordinator of this basketball program, at least you have something. At least you're creating a little bit of buzz for Jeremiah Dickey to go out and sell. Probably not enough. And I'm throwing that out there as an example. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But yes, I want a little bit of change, just like I wanted a little bit of change with Spencer Danielson. 2 years ago, he stood up behind a podium and said, I kept all my coaches. Change is okay. Change is good. And this past offseason, he's changed 30% of his coaching staff. And I think that that's energized a lot of people and brought in a new, fresh ideas. This basketball program is stagnant at best, and it starts at the top with the staff. And there's been very few staff changes with this staff. The AJ Few thing, that's intriguing to me. The Kobe Carl thing is intriguing for me. What's he going to do this offseason that's going to get me intrigued about this coaching staff?
Yeah, I would just hope that if it's one of the full-time guys that, jobs are filling right now. So if you're going to make it a move like that, unless someone's retiring or something, you would hope that they, if you wait a month and then there's no openings and then you fire somebody, I would hope that if they're, there's already a plan in place or something for whoever might. I just hope, I don't know. I mean, maybe Tim Duryea retires. I don't know what could happen at this point, but if he is going to make a move to his staff, I would hope that would happen pretty soon while there's still conventions and job openings and things like that. But, I guess maybe don't care about that, I guess. But we'll see. Pac-12, the reseeding, all this stuff. I know behind the scenes they're working and fighting and doing all they can. And like you've said, trying to find a way to make this marketable. And would a local kid help with that? Do you care at all? Do you care at all if it's a local kid?
What, like Liam Campbell coming from St. Mary's? No.
Not. I mean, if he was your 7th best player, if he was, one of 5 players you added this offseason, I don't think it would be like a negative. But if you're building your whole team around him and he's your best player you add, then yeah, that'd be a problem. But if he's one of 5 guys you add, I wouldn't have it's fine. Just no different than anybody else, I guess.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But don't market and celebrate him as the savior, because that's not the case. And I've seen some things out there that, that's kind of what fans want. And that's what people – Drew Fielder created some buzz last year because he came from the Big East, because he was a big dude, and he was local. But he really wasn't local, guys. I mean, he left after, his sophomore year of high school. He hasn't lived in Boise since he was 15 years old. He spent the last 2 years in L.A. before he even started college. So and there was buzz. There was buzz because he checked a lot of boxes. He comes from a big conference. He's a big man with a lot of multiple skill sets. Oh, and he's got some local ties. And there was the ability to market and sell and create a little bit of buzz with Drew Fielder. So if you can get that, sure, bring it on. I'm not sure who that person is or if that person's even out there.
Oh, I got a name for you.
Okay, what is it?
But what I was going to say first is we gave Jeff Choate, tell me if I'm crazy here, and I probably am, Prater, but we gave Jeff Choate a lot of crap when he came out and said that his sales pitch to recruits was, come here, we'll develop you, and next year you can get $1.6 million from Oregon. And he came out and said something to that effect, and people said, oh, whatever. Drew Fielder just turned $300,000 into $2+ million in 1 year by coming and being a star player at Boise State. I know you're talking roster retention, all this stuff, but this truly is an every year you have to re-recruit, rebuild your roster. You got to worry about next year's team, not the team in 2028, 2029. Who knows if Leon's even going to be here. Would it be crazy for part of your sales pitch to an elite player to use the example of Drew Fielder and say, hey, come here, put up big numbers and go either go make big money somewhere else next year. Whether we can pay you or whether somebody else can pay you, you can turn. It works here where we can develop you into a player that can make 7 times what you made last year next year. And I bring that up because of, and you're going to laugh when I say the name, and I will admit it's a 3% chance. It's not going to happen. But if we're talking what would excite the fan base, what would boosters throw in extra money to make this happen if it helped? Isaiah Harwell from Pocatello. He was the number 7 player in the class last year, a 5-star player, went to Houston, only played like 13 minutes a game and entered the transfer portal. His brother, Malik Harwell, lives in Boise. His brother, Malik Harwell, is around the program. His brother was on some of those Horseshoe Collective post-game shows. And for 1 year, to reestablish his stats himself, he averaged 2 points a game at Houston, was barely a player. I know it's Pocatello, Idaho Falls, whatever. I know he's not Boise, but if you could get a 5-star McDonald's All-American 1 year removed to come play 1 year in Boise, would that, again, I know it's a 5% chance, but if you could give him his $1+ million and build around a athletic guard that can defend and do things like that, would that at all excite you going into next season?
Well, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt, but are all those things true? I don't know anything about this kid. Is he a dog? Can he play defense? Does he bring the mentality? Is he a good locker room guy? I'm sick and tired of reading stats and resumes and stat sheets because it's about more than that with this basketball team. It's about the chemistry. It's about the dog mentality. It's about rebounding and playing defense. It's about what Leon Rice wants with this basketball program. So, yeah, if you brought in Isaiah Harwell, you'd get a little bit of buzz, not a lot. It wouldn't create any kind of difference. And you wonder, okay, so he's got this cool resume, and then you look at his stats, and it's like, what happened to this kid? I'm more interested in the mentality and the personality of the kid. And if Leon Rice says he's a dog, then I'm going to trust that. I think the one thing Leon Rice knows is a dog, and he recognized that this past year, this locker room was not filled with dogs. This locker room had lots and lots of issues. This locker room did not like each other. And at the end of the year, you could see that very obviously. So he's got to go out and find more than just stats. Would that help? Sure. I'm not going to shoot down your theory, but if that's the pie in the sky or if that's the desperate reach that we're looking for, that just proves that this program really is in trouble right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, I think the point guard the name I've been hearing is going to fit the dog mentality. But again, they need 6 players.
Yes.
They got 4 right now. What we know is, and I'm curious, and I know he hasn't played much, but he was a scholarship player. I'm just naming everybody that was on the roster. Ethan Lathan was a big guy we haven't heard about. I mentioned NATO. There was a Bettinger, remember the guard last year that was everyone was talking about him going into the season. Then he ended up redshirting. Bettinger, a guard. We don't know about him. I believe he's staying. You mentioned Aarons and NATO and Carmichael. I mean, that's potentially 6 guys out of 13, and that's maybe one starter out of that. I mean, I if they can find 5 guys, I don't know if Aarons and Carmichael would start or one or the other. The number is 8 right now, though, Mike. 8 total starts could be back on next year's team. Pearson Carmichael started 6 games and NATO started 2. You would have 8 starts, which, like I guess you said, is better than some teams that would have 0. But that would have to be, I'd have to look. I don't remember. Can you remember the last time Boise State had to replace all 5 starters?
No, and that's one of the reasons why I said this program's hit rock bottom. And when I say that, it's not about the disaster. It's just about starting over. It's like when I come home from work and I look in my fridge and it's empty, I got to start over, man. I'm hitting rock bottom and I got to go to the grocery store. But if I can find a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the corner, that's a good start. So it's
you're drinking that stale old milk. Come on.
I don't drink milk. I haven't had a glass of milk in 50 years, and I will never have a glass of milk. So I would starve to death if it came down to milk. And I don't think it's that bad. I don't think Leon Rice has some spoiled milk in his fridge. I think he's got a couple of green sandwiches, and we can kind of figure it out. But yeah, this program, in terms of where Leon Rice or any previous Boise State coach has had to start with rebuilding this team, it's never been this bleak. And yeah, there are tools out there in society now where you can build it. The New Mexico factor of last year. Leon Rice, as a dog himself, is going to go out and find a couple of these guys. And I don't really fault Leon Rice for last year, guys. I talked about it openly on our show. In the era of where we are right now, you're basically hiring paid professionals to come in and do a job. And sometimes that's a 1-year job. And I thought Leon Rice did a pretty good job of bringing this roster together. I thought Leon Rice had one of his better coaching seasons ever. It got away from him at the end, and you've got to criticize that. But I think he patched it together. He held it together. He gave us hope. He tried and changed a lot of there was so much change in the basketball program this year. Even the little things like moving Duryea out and bringing A.J. Few in and practice schedules and all the other kinds of stuff. I think Leon Rice scrambled his ass off this year to get it right. Sometimes you bring paid professionals together and it just doesn't work. And that's really nobody's fault because chemistry is such a powerful human thing. You can't control that. And in this particular case, I think he brought together 10 dudes. They were all pretty good basketball players. He had a great core to this program, and there was reason for optimism going into this last year. And at the end of the day, these guys were paid professionals who came to work, gave it their best shot, didn't quite make it elite. And at the end of the day, they just kind of wanted to move on because they didn't want to be with each other anymore. And sometimes that happens and it's okay. And I'm not really blaming the coach. It just happens in the workforce. And that's what we're dealing with now in college basketball. It's a workforce.
And late in the season, Mike, everything, and I guess they mean the coaching staff, but all everybody said is they wanted major changes. Oh, blow up the roster, major changes. It can't run it back the way it is. And that's basically what they've done. It's going to be a completely new team next year, and yet now everyone's saying the sky is falling and stuff. I guess the folks saying that wanted, Leon fired, or if it was just Tim Duryea, but you kept three of your two other players, people would be happy with that. I'm not sure, but obviously the team on the court wasn't good enough last year. They are basically redoing the entire roster. They're giving the coaches basically a 1-year do-over to redo the roster. And I don't know about on your show or your social media, but all I got on post-game shows and everything was, oh, they got to blow this thing up, redo the roster, blow this thing up. We need major changes. Well, you're getting major changes, and yet I still see a decent amount of people that are like not happy with everything.
Well, we haven't seen any additions yet. When you blow things up and you have change, you have to see.
We're going to have a roster. They will get enough guys to play next year.
Well, of course they will. Of course they're going to play a basketball season next year. But is that enough to get the community fired up? Is it enough for Jeremiah Dickey to sell? Yeah. So when the social media hardcore say major changes, those words have never come out of my mouth. I've asked for some roster changes because this roster didn't work last year. I've asked for a couple of changes with the coaching staff. I wrote a column for BNN last year about changes that Spencer Danielson needed to make to his football program. And it's not so much Prater's wish list. It's like you're looking at this program and trying to figure out where the deficiencies are. And when I wrote that column, I think I said, here are the 12 changes I want. And it's not Spencer Danielson's not listening to Mike Prater. He's got self-awareness. He knows what the deficiencies are with his program. And I think like 8 of the 12 changes that I asked for happened this offseason. So it's not about blowing it up. A change can be a tweak here. A change can be a tweak there. But in Leon Rice's case, the crash was so damn hard, you kind of are blowing it up. And it kind of is happening. And the roster thing is real. And we're going to figure out where it goes from here.
Bronco 130 says, so if I'm understanding correctly, Leon was completely unaware that we didn't have any dogs on the team.
He went in, from my opinion, he went into this season thinking he had dogs. Coming out of the season, he realized he didn't have anywhere near enough.
And I'm not putting this on one player, but that is part of the problem, Mike, when you recruit a guy for 2 weeks and then sign him, as opposed to a guy that you know from a junior year of high school, and you talk to all these people. Like it's speed dating in the portal, and sometimes you hit, and sometimes things that you don't when you realize it just didn't work. And I would say, again, not dependent on any one player, but sometimes that part of it and the mental side of it is something that's a little harder to figure out when you're in the speed dating in the portal.
Yeah, I think it's well said. That's exactly what it is. It's speed dating, and we know how that goes, man. And it doesn't always lead to these beautiful relationships. And again, that's kind of what I've been saying about the relationships of need and the Pearson Carmichael. I almost think that's almost speed dating. There's times Pearson Carmichael had no interest in being here. There have been times where Boise State had no interest in keeping that guy on the roster, but yet here they are on a freezing night trying to keep warm, and they're cuddling up with each other. So. That does happen. It's basketball and sports are no different than life and work and families and homes. And we're going through that right now, and it's very, very public. So, Leon Rice realized at one point during this season, my roster sucks. I don't have any dogs, and I like to build my roster around dogs. And by golly, I'm going to try to fix it this offseason, and we'll see what happens.
Given the way the season started, in September with the viral photo, I think we need Andrew Meadow and RJ Keene to just transfer to Utah.
I think that you, and I know every time I say it, like, Prater, you're from Utah. Of course you're going to say that photo thing was so stupid. And so it was the most blown up, ridiculous story since Deflategate. It meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing from this season. It led to, if there were chemistry problems in the locker room, that road trip had nothing to do with it. That picture didn't create any karma, good or bad. That's just social media idiots out there trying to latch onto something that meant nothing.
And that, say what you want about the photo, but that trip was actually done to visit Julian Bowie's dad, who was about to pass away. And he did pass away shortly after that. And so that's originally why they went down there. But I mean, it was a season like no other, Mike. The D2 loss in the first game, the way it started, the way it ended. I mean, and yes, this person's correct. Hearing north of $3.5 million to spend on basketball, not sure that's all cash. Any truth to that? Yes, my understanding is somewhere in the 3.5 range is the rev share budget, and we'll see. Cody Gogler, this administration, this coaching staff, Mike, they got their work cut out for him because, like I said, it was a season like no other in terms of maybe the worst loss in program history and everything else that happened, and then losing to San Jose State to finish. We still have people out there, by the way, that were tweeting at me yesterday. Well, why did Boise State not play in the NIT? Why did they give up on the season? Like, did anybody really want to see that? That team continue to play ball? I don't understand that part of it at all. The coaches wanted to move on. The players were ready to move on. Obviously, I don't think anybody, that's not on the coaches for not wanting to play. That's a program decision. There was nobody in that building that wanted any part of the NIT or postseason basketball. So I don't know why that's still kind of a thing as well, but we'll see. Mike, before I let you go, football, 4 practices in. What I know, again, I thought practice 3 was really fun to watch. They were out there in full, tackle in full pads. Those couple of those live periods were a lot of fun to watch. But overall, 4 practices. Any major takeaways, storylines for you?
I wouldn't say major, but there's a few things developing, and I wasn't able to get to a practice this week, but from everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard, it's more business than usual. It's more efficient than usual. They're out there really, really getting after it. It might be more physical and intense than it is as usual, and I think that's all by design. I think that they're going to work hard, man. They're going to work really, really hard right now, and I think Spencer's got it really dialed in. But in terms of there's been a couple of individual players that have risen up. Rashawn Jones, kid at wide receiver, is going to be really, really fun to watch. And I'm not going to get too worried or too fired up about this kind of stuff. I remember standing at spring practice a year ago, and you and Johnny were standing around saying Malachi Nelson and Chris Marshall were going to go to the NFL and be rock stars after leading Boise State to a national championship. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
maybe on Marshall. I never said that on him. Malachi Nelson.
I know, but there was a lot of stuff, and you really can't tell after 4 days of spring practice. But yeah, I'm encouraged by what I see, and I think it's pretty fun. I like the changes that they made in the offseason with the coaching staff. I like the changes they made with the roster. I think this is going to be really fun. The defensive backs are just fascinating to watch right now. There's 20 dudes competing for 5 spots, and I think there's some depth, and there's some dudes and some dogs over there. I cannot wait to see what they do with the offensive line. Tim Keene, to me, and Chris Strasser are just absolute geniuses when it comes to the offensive line. And, they marched out 5 new starters with 4 dudes already out on injuries this spring. And that's going to be really fun to watch. So, yeah, we're off to a good start after 4 days of spring ball.
Yeah. And I was thankful the last couple of days were inside because it was a little colder.
It was cold
the last couple of days. But is Rashawn Jones the real deal? I mean, it's 4 practices, but he certainly has stood out and made some plays. And I know we're not supposed to talk depth charts and all that, Mike, but when you have, Maddox Madsen working with one group down here and some of the other younger quarterbacks working down here, and you're turning left to look at Rashawn Jones catching passes from some of those quarterbacks as opposed to there. I mean, he's already, I know they call it a seating chart, but at least for the first 4 couple days, he's done enough to be on the higher end of the seating chart, I would say. But that's what spring ball's for. Guys stand out, you overhype them, and then you get all summer, you get excited, and then who knows what's going to happen in the season. But I will say this about Cash Herrera. I know there's a lot of hype on Cash Herrera coming in. He's not going to be the starting quarterback this year. We know it's going to be Maddox Madsen, but I will say this, you get close to that guy. He was there doing some drills in the end zone, and so we were 10 feet or less away from him. He's bigger than I realized. He's got size, and we're going to talk to Adam Engroff here in a few minutes, 27 years as a scout for the Miami Dolphins, but he walked over to me and was like, he's got the best arm of anybody here, and right away was super impressed. And again, I'll dive into that with Adam in a few minutes, but it is pretty noticeable. There's a lot of other things that come into it. I get it, but in terms of just looking the part, Casherera is a guy that has me intrigued.
As we should. And even Spencer Danielson twice I've caught Spencer Danielson saying Casherera has, quote, NFL talent. And he hasn't shying away from that. So I think there's some, he looks great. He looks the part. He's got this beautiful throwing motion. He does look a little bit bigger and better than everybody else. And at this point, you just hope he's not too good right off the bat, because is a kid like that going to stick around? Those are the thoughts that come straight into my head. So we're going to sit here and talk about Casherera and Rashawn Jones, but are they even going to be here in a year? I said nobody's talking about the two junior college wide receivers, Darren Morris and Akeem Wright. I think there's a chance. If you gave me a betting shot and said Rashawn Jones or one of the two junior college wide receivers, who's going to lead this team in catches, I would take one of the two junior college kids now. I think one of those, and nobody's talking about Morris or Wright, really. They're kind of quietly going to work in a wide receiver room that's really kind of cool. There's 10 dudes in this wide receiver room, and they need 6 of them to be wide receiver one. And it might be wide receiver by committee this year, and it's going to be pretty cool. And they also need a quarterback who can get them the ball. And that's certainly a big part of this connection. But I like what I see in the wide receiver room. I just don't know if it's going to be a team of stars or a room of stars or a room of 5 or 6 or 7 contributors.
One quick final question for you comes from Grant Mike. He says, Prater, what's one position group that concerns you?
Linebacker. But I feel less concerned after talking to Spencer Danielson, because they only have 1.5 linebackers, guys. Bone Phelps is the guy, and I don't like Bone Phelps' size, but, in talking to Spencer a couple of times, that's the way college football is going. And I heard somebody talking about it at practice the other day, in terms of Bone Phelps and his ability to get from sideline to sideline. Spencer Danielson wants really, really quick linebackers that can roam left to right, not so much back and forth, or the big, powerful, physical Dick Butkus neck roll kind of guys that can just absolutely separate you from the ball. So college football is evolving. I think Spencer Danielson is evolving, and the athleticism and the size of these linebackers, we probably shouldn't get overly cautious about or overly carried away about that. But Rip is really inconsistent. There's a couple of other kids that really haven't really proven out. I'm a little bit worried about the talent and the depth in the linebacker room.
By the way, one final note here. Nathan Carroll has, you were doing like a 5 questions to watch during spring camp, and he has one on the quarterbacks in Maddox Madsen. I will leave you with this stat. The rest of it you can read. Paying subscribers can read. Madsen, 53.4% completion percentage, throwing for this is in the 3 losses, less than 230 yards, 2 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions. His yards per attempt, 4.7 yards, which would have ranked 175th out of 176th eligible quarterbacks. A lot more stats numbers in there on Madsen and the other quarterbacks. You can read that at BroncoNationNews.com. I'm going to talk some more scouting and some things that Adam saw with Adam. But Prater, anything you want to promote for the show today? 3 to 6, Idaho Sports Talk. I know you guys are gearing up for a big soccer game this weekend. What else we got going on?
Well, we got BJ Rains on at 4:15 today. That'll be kind of fun. But yeah, big soccer game. AC Boise Steelheads, two downtown crowds against the first place team in all of the ECHL. So there's going to be 7,000 people at soccer. There's going to be 10,000 people at the Idaho Steelheads all over this weekend. And we got a pretty cool Final Four, especially that second game tomorrow night with Michigan and Arizona. And nice Easter weekend, a beautiful family weekend, great weather, lots of people outside. This, my friends, is going to be a spectacular weekend.
I still wish they had found a way to keep the horse racing. I know some people have different mixed results on that. When I first moved here, they had it for like 1 year still, and it was kind of fun on Kentucky Derby Day to go out there. And you're always hoping Gary Stevens did something when I was writing my stories out there, because I had to do that. But that said, that place is set empty and been mostly a dump for a long time. And what they've done with the soccer and the rebuild, I'm not the biggest soccer guy of all time, but I think that what they've done is pretty cool, and having a pro team here is pretty cool. And they've certainly changed the look of that area. And I know they have some bigger plans there too, but that thing's pretty cool. And that should be fun on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I'll be there. I'm going to go. I'm going to show up, and it's just a really cool community vibe. I'll never forget opening night of the Idaho Steelheads in October of 1997. And the commitment that team has to this community. I think soccer is going to be the same. And when I'm old and creepy 25 years from now, I want to be able to remember tomorrow night, because it's a pretty cool moment for our community.
Speaking of remembering, and I was going to ask this earlier and I forgot real quick, the space shuttle going around the moon. Are you tracking, following that at all? And I know in like a year, this is all set up for like 2 years from now, they're going to try to actually land on the moon again. What do you Do you remember, what was it, 60s, 70s, whenever that happened before? Are you at all watching this, paying attention to this? Is this cool for you, or is this a nothing?
Absolutely fascinated by it. July 20th, 1969 is a day I'll never forget. I was only 7 years old, and I was sitting on my dad's lap. I'll never forget it. I think it's like one of my earliest memories. I saw a car crash when I was in kindergarten. I think that's the earliest memory of my life. But then a couple of years later, hanging out with my dad and watching Neil Armstrong step on the moon, I wanted to be an astronaut. I've actually been to NASA in Florida and checked it all out. I think it's really, really cool. We've all been affected by things like the Challenger and things that have gone on in our life. But yeah, I watched that launch the other day. I tried to get Johnny and Greg to talk about it more on the show. They kept shutting me down. They're not in the astronaut generation like older people like maybe you and I are. But I will tell you this: the pilot of Artemis 2 that's out there right now, and this is a 10-day mission. They're going to go about 300,000 miles, orbit the moon, and come back. Victor Glover. Victor Glover is the pilot of Artemis 2, and he's a former Cal Poly student athlete. He went to Cal Poly for 3 years as a wrestler.
Yeah.
But in 1996, he played on the football team. Twice he came to the state of Idaho. He went to the Kibbe Dome and got his ass kicked by the University of Idaho. And he also went to the Idaho State Holt Arena there in Pocatello and got his ass kicked there. Cal Poly was an independent team. They just happened to have 2 road games in the state of Idaho. You know, he might be a good astronaut, but he couldn't get the business done when it came to college football in the state of Idaho.
I know it's not the space shuttle. I apologize. I'm not calling it the exact name of it. I apologize. And I did think it was fitting. 2 hours in, the bathroom broke, but I guess they got that fixed. I guess they were testing it for future flights and stuff. But opening weekend at Meridian Speedway as well. So don't forget about it.
Nice.
Yeah. Prater, appreciate you, man. 4:15. We'll be talking to you, man. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you, BJ. Have a great weekend, everybody.
3 to 6. Check out Prater and the ball game. They'll be on 3 to 6. Hey, we're going to talk to an longtime NFL scout and executive. What stands out to him when he watches the Boise State football practice? He was there yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on some of the players here in just a second. So don't go anywhere. Plenty of football talk still to come. But do want to thank Lithia Ford of Boise, our title sponsor. Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out online at lithiafordboise.com. Whether it's new, whether it's pre-owned, they got you covered. They're ready to help you out. Lithia Ford of Boise online, lithiafordboise.com. Hey, Sun Cruiser's got that new blueberry lemonade flavor. Check it out, blueberry lemonade at Sun Cruiser. They have the strawberry lemonade, pink lemonade, the vodka iced teas, vodka lemonades, now in 12 packs. Check them out at your local gas station or grocery store. As always, send us a picture on social media or tag us and tag Sun Cruiser that you're enjoying one, and we'll put you in a drawing for a cool prize there. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. We appreciate them, and you may think you like your banking experience, but I promise if you make the switch to ICCU, you'll be glad you did. So many options, and very happy that the Rains family is with ICCU. So check them out, ICCU.com. Also very happy and thankful for Taco Bell, the Nicolason family, SON Management Group. We got baseball hitting lessons tonight, baseball tomorrow. We'll be hitting up Taco Bell, that Eagle Road location for sure. SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, the Crunchy Chicken Cantina Tacos. You have it and you think it's from like some nice, fancy sit-down restaurant. And you're like, there's no way this is from Taco Bell. It is. Their Cantina line is awesome, and the Cantina Bowls are great as well. And, of course, the breakfast line there as well is tremendous. So Taco Bell, check them out online, TacoBellWorks.com. We appreciate Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. If you need Boise State gear, the Blue and Orange Store has you covered. Blue and Orange Store online, the blueandorangestore.com. Whether it's jerseys, caps, bumper stickers, car flags, the Blue and Orange Store has you covered online, the Blue and Orange Store. Again, the location there at the Boise Allen Noble Hall of Fame, the Boise Town Square Mall as well. And you can order anywhere in the world, like I said, at the Blue and Orange Store.com. Hey, Banana Ball, I know they pushed the date back. If you got that email, it's not till the 27th, 28th now to get the tickets for Banana Ball. But if you were one of the ones that did not win the lottery to get tickets for your family to Banana Ball, you can win one of 2 trips. You can go to Eugene, Oregon, see them at Autzen Stadium, the Bananas against the Party Animals, or you can see the Party Animals against the Texas Tailgaters on the Blue coming up in July. You can enter with your Let's Go Rewards app from our friends at Jackson's. Just buy 2 body armor products. You get one for $1 on the second one. But if you use your Let's Go Rewards, punch in your phone number there, and you buy 2 Body Armor products, you get entered to win one of 2 trips to Banana Ball. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And that is from our friends at Jackson's. Check them out at Jackson's. All right, there's our man, Adam Engroff, 27 years, scout executive in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins. Adam, you were at practice yesterday. Good to see you. Chat with you. How we doing, man?
Good. Good to see you yesterday. I'm down here in Salt Lake City at a 7-on-7 tournament with my son, Brody. And it's different to watch a Boise State practice in spring and then kind of take a look at it, just as in a different view than scouting NFL prospects. So it was good and good to catch up with a lot of people that I know there.
Well, I know you were taking your notes and checking on guys, and you're probably looking at them from a different perspective maybe than some folks are in terms of getting ready for a college season versus pro prospects and their long-term future and things like that. But as I mentioned earlier with Prater, I think you were on and heard that Cash Herrera, I know number 10, the quarterback, was the guy that stood out to you yesterday.
Yeah, you and I were talking like when I go out to a practice at a college practice, I look for body types and, physical traits that really stand out, that'd be NFL traits. And right off the bat, watching Cash size, he looked like he's the biggest quarterback in that group. Compact delivery, the ball came out really smooth, a lot of velocity, tight rotation. So seeing all of that, just first glance was very impressive. And, he can really throw a football. We all know that's just half of how to play the sport. So I don't know about his processing and how he sees the field, but physically, I really like what I saw as far as traits to be a starter, even maybe an NFL prospect.
And Spencer did something differently this spring. I don't know how many schools do this, but, basically when they go to their team reps, they're breaking up into 2 sets. They have kind of the 1s and 2s at this end, 3s and 4s, or however they break it up that day, on opposite ends of the field. So they're getting twice as many reps in during the team periods. And really, I forget if it was Spencer or Eric Chenander or somebody was saying it. It's not the, Maddox Madsen and the starters are getting the normal amount of reps they would get anyway. It's the Cash Herreras of the world, the 3s and 4s, and the younger guys. They're getting a ton more reps in spring. They would maybe get out there for 1 series and get 4 or 5 reps. Now they're getting 20 to 25 reps during these team periods. For the quarterback position in particular, with Jackson Taylor and Cash Herrera, 2 incoming freshmen, how beneficial is that to get an extra 20 reps of practice that maybe you wouldn't normally get in spring?
Obviously, it's huge. It's huge for at any level. I've seen that you do that a lot at the NFL level where you have 2 fields going, offense on one side versus the scout team, defense versus the scout team. So everybody's getting the reps, but those are invaluable, especially as the season goes on and progresses. Those reps are going to be less and less. So to put stuff on tape for the coaches, and we just talked about it. You can be as big, as strong, and fast and athletic as you want, but you have to see it on real live speed, which they were going fast yesterday, which was good to see. So that is a great learning process when he can learn to play fast and process things as a quarterback.
And Boise State has done the scout team thing, but I've never seen them go, full out, just full speed twice at the same time like that. In practice 3 on Tuesday, they were doing that live. They were tackling at both ends of the field and getting extra reps. And it seems like that's going to really jumpstart some of those young guys' development. A couple wide receivers. We talked about Darren Morris from Southern, Rayshawn Jones as well, the local kid. He's kind of local. He moved in for 1 year of high school here and obviously, signed with Boise State. I know Jones and Morris, 2 guys that fans are excited about. Both are supposed to be, contributors you would think here, but certainly names that continue to pop up for our discussions and 2 guys that you certainly saw yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know much about Morris. He was just making some plays yesterday. I saw a smooth athlete with speed, had some height to him. Maybe the body could get a little bit bigger, but I saw some speed there, some playmaking ability. So he was interesting. He popped out a little bit. And then Rashawn, I know Rashawn, he competed against my sons at Rocky when my sons were at Timberline. So I've seen him play. In high school, he was a majority of a defensive player and got some offensive snaps. So I thought it was good to see him on offense because I didn't know on defense, as far as the instincts and what position he would play at the college level. So it was really good to see him play receiver, show off that speed and athletic ability. And you and Prater said it. He did it. He made some eye-opening plays out there, which is, unique to see of an early enrollee freshman, and then getting, reps up during there with quality opponents. So he was impressive. I was kind of shocked how good he was on offense.
Yeah, Adam Engroff, our guest, 27 years with the Miami Dolphins, working all the way up to the highest levels of scouting in terms of pro personnel director and things like that. And you've obviously seen it all. And I asked you an interesting question yesterday, and it took you a second to think about it. I said, who was the better pros prospect, Sire Gaines or Dylan Riley? And you had an interesting answer in terms of, we talk about it a lot, who's the better college player, what's better for a college offense or a college player versus long-term projections in future and what the NFL wants and looks at and needs. But Sire Gaines and Dylan Riley, what was your answer, and what'd you think of those guys yesterday?
They're both good running backs, and I think Boise's should be happy to have both of them because they're good players. My answer to you was Sire has all the prototypical measurables that NFL teams are looking for. He looks the part. He's big, strong runner, and the other back's a little smaller, but he's got more. I would say I like to call it instincts. He's a more natural runner through there. Doesn't rely more on his power and size. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. One has more of the NFL size, speed, and the other one has more vision and instinct. So they're both good players. I said Sire's probably the better NFL prospect, just duly on size and strength, but both very good players.
All right, we'll stay on offense for a minute. Matt Wagner, tight end. He takes over kind of as the main guy there with Matt Lauder moving on and finishing off his college eligibility and hoping to get on an NFL roster. But Matt Wagner had 24 catches last year, 251 yards. Because of their kind of two tight end set, he ended up having 10 starts last year, but 28-yard career-long reception against Notre Dame. Had 5 catches for 69 yards against Utah State and had his first career touchdown. 6'5", 250 from Prosper, Texas. He's a redshirt junior. What do you make of Matt Wagner?
Yeah, he's one of the guys, I'd mentioned, like, when I look for body types and skill set, I walk out, I see that's an NFL type body. So he stood out there. He moves pretty well. I noticed his hands were good. Maybe not the most fluid, easy mover because he is a bigger guy. Let's say he's not as slippery or twitchy out of his brakes as Lauder last year, but this is just a bigger man, a bigger body. I liked his effort in blocking and strength. He's more of a wide tight end, which is an online tight end instead of a off-ball move tight end like Lauder was. So he will be a blocking tight end with some receiving upside at the NFL level. So excited to see what he does. But right off the bat, you walk out of practice, you see him in pads, you're like, that's an NFL body type.
Defensive lineman David Latu. We had him on the show yesterday or the day before. I had a one-on-one sit-down with him, an interesting guy that went to Snow College, ended up going to BYU, ends up transferring over to Boise State, 6'4", 325. He's a redshirt senior, and he kind of takes over there and is one of the leaders on that interior, the defensive line, with Braxton Feely moving on to the next level as well. David Latu there on the interior, number 92. What'd you think of him?
Kind of the same discussion as Wagner. You walk out and you're like, and I see an NFL body that's a big, square, stout, thick body that could clog the middle. I noticed, watching him in individual, explosive as far as powerful hands. He looks more like a two-gap player. Feely is more of a one-gap guy who got upfield and made plays. And the Latu kid was more of a stout two-gap guy who can clog up running lanes and be a run defender. But again, I'm repeating myself, but an NFL body, big, thick, big arms, big lower body, big quads. And, that jumps out when I walked on the field. So he stood out to me as far as his athletic ability and his size.
Now, they made a switch this year. They went away from safeties coach and corners coach, and now they just have a defensive backs coach, and they've got all those guys into one room, which is not something they've done here at Boise State in a while. And they brought in Terrence Brown, who was at Cal. He's kind of falls under the Chris Peterson coaching tree, comes in to coach the defensive backs. How do they do it in the NFL in terms of breaking out, safeties, corners, that always two rooms, one room? Maybe folks aren't familiar how that works. And what do you make of Boise State and Spencer Danielson deciding to make sure the terminology and the communication is there by bringing both of them into the same room, same position coach? They've got, assistant position coaches and all that. And then with that said, Kyle Hall, a transfer from the College of San Mateo, 6'2", 205, comes in at Rockland High School, who they've had some success there. I think that was Chase Hatata's high school way back in the day. They've had a lot of success there. But Kyle Hall stood out to you in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, the first part of your question, Terrence, I've known him for a while. He's coached a lot of good NFL players at Washington and Cal, and Coach Wilcox down at Cal. If you notice, they put out a lot of defensive backs to the NFL. Draft picks and the guys that are playing and starting league. So that's an excellent hire for Spencer, bringing in a guy of that caliber. At the NFL level, we are separated into corners and safeties. And then we have an assistant DB. There's more assistants, but they are broken up into those rooms. It is a good idea because especially if you're learning, a new system, but a new coach, new terminology, just to be all on the same page, because you can be fast and athletic, but if you have busts, you're going to have busts, and there has to be constant communication with the safety and the corners. That's one of the most important parts of being a safety, is being instinctive and being a vocal communicator and leader back there and getting guys lined up and telling them where to go. So that's very important. And the last part of your question, the Kyle Hall kid, I'm repeating myself. I walk out there and I see a big, long, athletic body. I like the way he moved around. He looks a lot like Ty Benefield physically, how big he is. I really like the way he moved. I don't know anything about him as far as on the game tape coming from JC. So, but athletically, that's what we're looking for. When the NFL is looking for the movement skills. So we'll just see it play out. But athletically, he really stood out with the size, length, and his ability to move.
And I know you look at it more from the scouting NFL perspective, but from the college coaching side, just from the player development side, now that you're in practice 5 coming up tomorrow, I think it might be some sort of scrimmage, but as these practices kind of build here, what do you want to see? What do you think these coaches want to see? What's a thing or two like that from practice 1 to practice 6 or 7 you're hoping is different and things that you're starting to build on? I mean, is it just once you get moving faster? Is it the mental side? Is it, actually the execution of the plays? As spring goes on, what would you like to see continue to build?
I think it's 2 things. One, you hit on it, the mental, especially having portal guys coming in, freshmen, JC transfers. Their play should pick up as far as their speed of how they're playing. You're playing more with instincts and being athletic ability once you know the system. So you're not thinking and overthinking things. So you're playing faster. So that's the development you want to see. Also, I think you want to see like some of the kids last year who are maybe redshirting or your early enrollees. You want to see how they can contribute to your team at their development of their bodies. Are they coming along physically? Do you think they can make the next step? Because maybe there might be a kid that's really just blossomed over the year. And then, seeing like we were talking about the Rashawn Jones earlier, see a guy like that. Those are things that kind of jump out. You know what you're getting from your veterans, the guys that have been around, what they're going to show up and do their job. At this time of year, you're trying to see players that make the jump and how the new guys integrate themselves physically, but mostly mentally.
And how do coaches, maybe this is a better question for Ritt or Bedell, but how do you not put too much emphasis on spring? I mean, spring matters, but a lot of guys are out injured. A lot of guys, some guys aren't even here yet that are coming in the summer. You're a lot of this stuff scripted. How do you as a coach, yeah, what Rayshawn Jones is doing is great, but I'm not going to make him the starter till a week before the first game. Like, how do you not, is there I know they say like in baseball, spring training stats are kind of meaningless sometimes. Like, how do you look at spring and what kind of stuff does matter and what kind of stuff, if any, is like, okay, it's nice to see now, but let's see it in 6 months?
It's funny. I thought of that same kind of story yesterday watching the Jones kid at practice. In 20 years, every year we had training camp or mini camp all pros, guys that like, oh, this guy's going to be so good for us. He's going to be so good for us. And then once training camp pads and preseason games come, they disappear and then they're on the first cut. So countless players, they just can't, once the pads come on full, they just can't operate in some way or frame, but they're always, we called them training camp Hall of Famers. So you can't get too excited. What you want to see is consistent growth. It's eye-opening. You can't count on those kids. You can't count on a true freshman like maybe he's showing out right now. You can't count on him, though. He's got to take the next step and continue to develop, because once the pad comes on, once you're playing San Diego State, once you're playing some of those top teams in the conference, it's a whole different ball game. So as long as you see the steady growth, you want to see the flashes at this point, like he can do this, they can do that. So then you can slowly integrate them. If you put too much on them, unless they're a unique individual, it's going to overwhelm them, because, these kids are 18, 19 years old. That's a lot of pressure. So yes, you hit it right on the head. You can't get too excited about this stuff, because half the time they fizzle out because it's just having a great spring.
Well, yeah, season opener at Autzen Stadium against Oregon, and then the home opener week 2 is at home against Memphis. So we're going to know a lot about this team pretty quickly, 2 games in, and a lot of these players. And yeah, but Adam, appreciate you. Good luck to your son down there at the tournament, and we'll continue to get on your expertise here, as we're only a couple of weeks away from the draft now. So we want to dive into some of the NFL draft stuff the next couple of weeks and continue to see where Casey might go and whether Matt Lauder or Feely or any of these other guys have a chance as well. I know you have a couple guests you might help bring on as well. So we'll dive in. We'll keep the spring football talk going, but also talk NFL draft here the next couple of weeks. We look forward to next week's appearance and appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we'll have some guys, and your guests will really like, because they'll dive into stuff all around the league, and they'll really help break down some stuff they're hearing in the draft, because these people are real dialed in. So we'll get that going.
Looking forward to it, man. Appreciate it,
All
Adam.
right. Take care.
Adam Engroff, 27 years, awesome insight, and standing next to him for a practice, pretty cool just to hear some of what he's looking for and guys that he's paying attention to from an NFL perspective. And guys like that can just see it, and certainly had some high praise for some of those guys we were talking about earlier. So, hey, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher. Check him out online, BauscherRealEstate.com. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Matt and his team are your folks, your guys you need to reach out to. We bought and sold our home using Matt and his team. Tremendous customer service every step of the way. 252-9877 online, BauscherRealEstate.com. Hey, we got a voicemail yesterday from BSU Bill. Appreciate that. We'll take your voicemails, speakpipe.com/BNN. Speakpipe.com/BNN. Send us a voicemail. We'll play it on an upcoming show. And it's brought to you by Signature Roofing. Online at mysignatureroofing.com. We got a new roof from them last summer, and it was an awesome, easy process and very affordable, and you're going to be very happy that you went with Signature Roofing, covering our community one roof at a time, whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, or an inspection. All your roofing needs, hit up the official roofer at Bronco Nation News. That is Signature Roofing, online, mysignatureroofing.com. Hey, if you need a fence, Elman Fencing is who you need to call. Decks, pergolas, fences, cedar, wrought iron, vinyl, they can do it all. ElmanFencing.com, 631-2790. Brady and his staff, 25 plus years in the fencing business. They're ready to help you build that perfect project from the ground up. So if you're on the fence about that next fencing project, whether it's an entirely new fence, whether it's a repair to your fence, reach out to Elman Fencing. They're ready to help you. ElmanFencing.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. Locations across the Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, Ridley's Family Markets, 13 locations in the state of Idaho. And you can buy Sun Cruisers there at Ridley's. So I love that Kuno location. Ridley's Family Markets. Think local. Think Ridley's Family Markets. Hey, rowpaint.com, 20% off that winter painting project. We're moving into the spring now. They got some great deals and things. Rowpaint.com. Again, 20% off if you tell them BNN sent you. And they got some great deals, interior, exterior painting, the Painter for a Day project, rowpaint.com. Check them out online, rowpaint.com. And if you're looking for a new job, a fresh start, career change, why don't you hit up Transportation Compliance Service? They are ready to help you out. Transportation Compliance Service. You can hit them up at transcomservice.com. Local company helping out folks all over the world get into the trucking industry, all the paperwork and things you need. So Transportation and Compliance Service, you can hit them up at transcomservice.com. Checking one final look at the comments here. Does he still work for the Dolphins? Nope. 27 years. The Dolphins got a new GM and new management this year, and so they redid their entire scouting department. So he was the one of the ones basically running the draft, the pro personnel director there for a long time, and does not still work for the Dolphins. And so is in looking for his next opportunity right now, which is why we're able to bring him on. But he's lived in Boise, and he's friends with Riddle and Bedell and great guys. So happy we could help bring him on and bring his expertise and insight here to all of you on the BNN. I'm not sure he could be that open or talk about players if he's working for a team. So appreciate him for coming on. Appreciate Mike Prater for coming on. Appreciate all of you as well. Hour and 15 minutes on a Friday to wrap up your week. BroncoNationNews.com. You can go subscribe right now. 5 questions to look at for the football team this spring. How do the quarterbacks look this spring is our question. And Nathan Carroll dives into some of the numbers on Maddox Madsen and the quarterbacks. Paid subscribers can read that at BroncoNationNews.com. We also had our observations, takeaways from yesterday's practice, who stood out, things we saw. That's available at BroncoNationNews.com. And all the analytical numbers and things on Andrew Meadow going to the portal and Drew Fielder and all kinds of stuff. So football, basketball, we got you covered. BroncoNationNews.com, 50% off an annual subscription right now. We hope you'll subscribe at BroncoNationNews.com. And appreciate the comments here. Informative interview. Good job. Thank you, BJ. Appreciate that, guys. Always appreciate that. But fun Friday. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Happy Easter. Hope you're able to get to church on Sunday, spend some time with family, and remember what the day is all about. And appreciate all of our sponsors. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel on your way out the door. And again, if news breaks, we'll have you covered at BroncoNationNews.com. We're tracking transfer portal. We're tracking football. All kinds of stuff going on. And our message boards have been popping lately. There's a free board if you can't subscribe. We have the VIP board where I dropped a interesting name into the VIP board this morning on a player to keep an eye on for the basketball team, possible point guard. So we're taking care of folks at BroncoNationNews.com. Again, 50% off that annual rate. It's like $7 a month. Subscribe, help us out, and get the best Boise State coverage around. Hey, we'll talk to you later. 3 to 6, listen to Idaho Sports Talk with Johnny and Prater. I will join them at 4:15. If news breaks, we'll have you covered online. Otherwise, we'll talk to you Monday, 9 a.m. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. Get a Sun Cruiser or two. Enjoy the weekend with a Sun Cruiser. And, of course, our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. If you need that newer pre-owned vehicle, perfect weekend to go make that happen with Jim Sturk and company at Lithia Ford of Boise. Appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Take care.